Last Thursday, James Capoot was killed in the line of duty attempting to capture some fleeing bank robbers. He was 45 years old. He's a 19-year-old veteran of the police force and a Marine. He is survived by his wife and 3 daughters. And we're going to dedicate this song to him and his family on this day.
And just me and you, just as free, free as we'll ever be, just as free, free as we'll ever be. Drive until the city lights dissolve into a country sky, just me and you. Lay underneath the harvest moon and do all the things that lovers do, just me and you. Just as free.
You're reading this, and my mama's sitting there. Looks like I only got a one-way ticket over here. I sure wish I could give you one more kiss. And war was just a game we played when we were kids. Well, I'm laying down my gun, hanging up my boots. I'm up here with God, and we're both watching over you. So lay me down in that open field out on the edge of town, and know my soul is where my mama always prayed that it would go. But if you're reading this, I'm already home. So lay me down in that open field out on the edge of town, and know my soul is where my mama.
I have the privilege and the honor of leading the spiritual portion of the service today. We are going to celebrate Jim's life today. In talking with the family and the police department, their wish was to celebrate life and not so much mourn it. My prayer is that as this day progresses, you will have a greater sense of the man that Jim was and the memories he has left with all of you. So thank you again for being here. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Vallejo Police Department Chief, Bob Nicolini, for some opening comments.
Good morning. I'd first like to acknowledge the presence of police chiefs, city, county, and state officials led by Governor Jerry Brown. We thank you for being with us. Vallejo Police Department is a relatively small organization, and so we all know each other. I first met Jim about 17 years ago when I came to Vallejo. I asked someone, hey, I'm new to town. Who can show me how it's done in Vallejo? And they said, why, Jim Capoot can show you how it's done in Vallejo. But you better fasten your seatbelt because it might be a wild ride. I went out on patrol with him probably 3 or 4 times, and I found him to be a sound decision maker, a person with tactical competence, a person who had concern for the citizens of Vallejo. At the same time, though, you could tell he was a Marine. He was a yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir kind of guy. Sometimes he would kid me for being in the Air Force instead of the Marine Corps because it wasn't the real military. A few years later, Jim was transferred to the traffic division where he became a motorcycle officer. So I asked him, Jim, what's the chances of you beating the Oakland Police Department in the California Motorcycle Police Competition? And of course he said, yes, sir, take care of it. So in 2002, he and his partner, Gordy Moore, came in #1 in the California Motorcycle Police Competition. And of course he said to me, I told you, no excuses, sir. Jennifer, Jillian, Jamie, Justine. It's always difficult to know what to say at times like this. But as I was reading my email yesterday, I was reminded by one of our retired people that the last line of the Marine Corps hymn says, if the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. Now, that will include at least one Vallejo police officer. Post the color.
U.S. Marine Corps Honor Guard, arch on the colors. That our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Order. Arr.
As we move along this morning, I'm going to keep things pretty simple. Jim was an ordinary guy doing many ordinary things in life. At this time, I want to share just a few remembrances of Jim. First one from his mother, Beverly. I had the opportunity to speak with her the other day, and she shared with me how Jim was a good boy as he was growing up. Didn't get in a lot of trouble, listened to his mom and his dad for the most part. And when he was about 15 or 16 years old, he wanted to do a triathlon. And this event speaks of the person that Jim became and the lessons that he wanted to transfer to others in his life. His mom said that Jim prepared for this event, but maybe didn't prepare quite enough. And when he crossed the finish line, he literally passed out. Now, if you know Jim Capoot, he was not a quitter. He never gave up, and if he said he was going to do something, he did it. Well, he crossed that finish line, and they had to bring the ambulance over, but he was on the passing side. They got him up and got him back together, and didn't have to go to the hospital, but his mom remembers on the way home, they were looking forward to just resting a little bit and having some peace and quiet so Jim could recover. When they got home, his dad was there. His dad was a police officer also. And his dad said, "Good job, son. Now I want you to go out and mow the lawn." And as you can imagine, Jim was a little taken aback, and I think his mom was a little taken aback. But Jim, being the respectful son that he was, went out and mowed the lawn. And when he was done, his dad explained to him why he did that. And that's one of the things that we can so appreciate about Jim is Jim told many people to do things, and sometimes didn't explain why at the beginning, but he always told you at the end why you were doing it, and it was always to better yourself. And his dad said, "Jim, I wanted to toughen you up, and I didn't want your muscles to get tight after doing that event, so you need to go out and mow the lawn." I think that's a lesson that he passed on to his kids. I think they've mowed a few lawns.
And I love you, and I miss you, Coach. And I will use the teachings and the leadership skills you strengthened for me to reach success. Thank you for allowing me to speak about my hero. We would like to send our condolences to our Vallejo Police Department for a great loss of one of our heroes. He will be remembered for his hard work, dedication, and love for his community. Thank you, Coach, for always being there for us and just for being a friend. We will miss our movie nights at your house and your silly ways. Jenny, Jill, Jamie, and Justine, our deepest condolences to you, and always know that you are our extended family.
At this time, I'd like to invite Jim's family up. Jill, Justine, Jamie, some other family, and some friends to say a few words.
Jimmy Capoot has been my brother-in-law for almost 25 years. I'm Louis DiCarlo, Jennifer's brother. I'm Jill, Jamie, and Justine's Uncle Louis. Jim absolutely loved Jennifer and the girls. He was a great husband and a great dad. As an overprotective brother and a loving uncle, I couldn't ask for anything more. I never had to worry about them. Jim will be missed by all of us. Our family is broken and will never be the same. I'm especially sad he's going to miss a lot of the big milestones and achievements in the girls' lives. The high school and college graduations, the weddings, the grandchildren, their first homes, and all of the other big moments in life, like when the 49ers win the Super Bowl this year. And the girls are going to miss sharing all of these important moments with their dad. It's not fair. But I assure you that Jill, Jamie, and Justine will live meaningful and wonderful lives because of how they were raised and the foundation laid for them by Jennifer and Jimmy. If you cut through everything else, Jim Capoot was a family man. He was a great father, husband, son, brother, and uncle, and he will be missed.
Those we love remain with us, for love itself lives on, and cherished memories never fade because a loved one's gone. More than a thought apart, Those we love can never be more than a thought apart. For as long as there is a memory, they'll live on in our heart. Jim Capoot was a humble man with a big heart and a lot of plans. We were all somehow a part of this plan, which is what brought us all here today. Jim was driven and had high expectations of himself, as well as the people he surrounded himself with. Jim would never expect or ask anyone to do anything he couldn't or wouldn't do himself. Respect, honor, pride, determination, and most of all stubbornness is how Jim lived his life. Jen, Jill, Jamie, and Justine, remember you are and always will be the most precious part of your daddy's plan. I love you.
Jim Capoot's truest testimony will not be in the words we speak today, but in the way he lived his life, with dedication, with honor, and with love. It's no surprise to see so many people here today paying their respects. Jim is a true American hero. We love you, Jimmy, and we will never forget you. I also want to share a personal note from Jennifer. She is so proud of Jim and of all the police officers that sacrifice their lives every day to protect us. She respectfully asks that when we see a police officer, we shake their hand or simply say hello. Let them know we appreciate them and all that they do for us.
I was asked by Jennifer to say a few words on behalf of the Marines, and I thought about it, and after 25 years of knowing somebody who I consider my best friend, it's a little difficult to put words on paper. So I'm just going to speak from the heart and tell you how I felt about Jim and what Jim meant to all of us. I was stationed at Mare Island Marine Barracks about 1986 when this tall, slinky, smiling, white-toothed boy come walking through the door with his Arkansas accent. And me being an upstate New York kid, didn't even know where Arkansas was on the map when I got there. And he said, "My name is PFC Capoot," or Capoot. And I said, "Capoot? What kind of name is that?" And Jim said, "It's Capoot, and it's Arkansas." We had a long, long road, I thought, ahead of us. Him being a Cowboy fan and me being a die-hard New York Football Giants fan. And later I come to find that Jim openly told me and everybody else, "I really didn't like you when I first met you." South met the East, I don't know what it was. But eventually Jim and I clicked, and he became my best friend. He honored me with being best man at his wedding, and I in turn honored him as well as standing up at my wedding. He blessed me with his second daughter as my goddaughter. Biggest blessing in my life, not having daughters. These three girls behind me are my daughters. I want to share another story on how the love affair of 25 years started. And we talk about it all the time. We were at the Club Farragut, which is technically a Navy club, and we had a small detachment of Marines, but you know, we were Marines and they were squids, so we ran the place. Back in the day, Jim wasn't doing Coors Light. We were Smirnoff guys. So we go into the club and he sees this beautiful girl from across the way, who I should mention was with a gentleman friend. And I won't mention his name, but if you're out there, I thank you now for just going away quietly when. So Jim kept saying, "She's beautiful, she's beautiful. Jim, go talk to her." I can't. So with the help of a few more Smirnoffs, he went up there. and the other guy went away quietly. And 25 plus years later, here Jim and Jen are. Beautiful couple, beautiful family. Jim was a epitome of a Marine. We went through all the training together. We became marksmanship instructors together. And there was nothing he was more proud of than his children. I got the chance to work with him for a while before I retired in the Vallejo Police Department. Prior to that, I was with the local police department while he served his last year in the Corps, and he kept saying, how is it? How is it? Should I do it? Should I do it? And he did it. And he did it proudly, and he did it with a lot of class. I myself was pretty much a one-dimensional person. I was just a hard cop, but Jim knew how to separate the hard cop from the beautiful person inside. And as you've seen through the coaching and the mentoring and the traffic safety, everything, he separated one from the other. He didn't have to always be hard like the rest of us. That's one thing I'll never forget is driving, when I first got to Vallejo, driving down the street in a car and a little kid with a stop sign there on the corner, and I was saluted. And I said, hey Jim, I saw one of your people at the corner. And he said, did they salute you? I said, yes, they saluted me. But I guess that was Jim's rule. You know, if you see a police car come by, salute him. He was a proud son. He was a proud brother. He was a proud uncle. He was a proud friend. He was a loving husband. But my thoughts always go back to being a proud United States Marine, a proud cop, and a proud father of these three beautiful girls behind me. Loved everybody to the fullest. And in closing, I just want one request. I know there's at least 25 to 30 Mare Island Marines, and I know you guys out there wearing blue, there's many of us out there. I would just like to say, because Jim's favorite term, hoorah and semper fi, was heard over and over and over. And he has the girls saying it as well. So any of you that wore that Eagle Globe and Anchor at one time or another, on the count of three from my best friend, if you could just yell out a big hoorah, I'm sure he's hearing it. 1, 2, 3.
The night my dad passed away, a Vacaville policeman brought us a very nice poem that touched my family, and I'm going to share that with you. The policeman stood and faced his God, which must always come to a pass. He hoped his shoes were shining just as brightly as his brass. Step forward now, policeman, how shall I deal with you? Have you always turned the other cheek? To my church have you been true? The policeman squared his shoulders and said, no, Lord, I guess I ain't. Because those of us who carry a badge can't always be a saint. I've had to work most Sundays, and at times my talk was rough. And sometimes I've been violent because the streets are awfully tough. But I never took a penny that wasn't mine to keep, though I worked a lot of overtime when the bills just got too steep. And I never passed a cry for help, though at times I shook with fear. And sometimes, God forgive me, I wept unmanly tears. I know I don't deserve a place among the people here. They never wanted me around, except to calm their fear. If you've had a place for me here, Lord, it needn't be so grand. I never expected or had too much, but if you don't, I'll understand. There was a silence all around the throne where the saints had often trod, as the policeman waited quietly for the judgment of his God. Step forward now, policeman, you've borne your burdens well. Come walk a beat on heaven's streets, you've done your time in hell. I love you, Daddy.
My dad had a heart of gold. He wasn't just my dad, he was one of my best friends. He taught me everything I know, and I'm everything I am because of him. He taught me how to be strong when I was weak, and how to be happy when I was sad. He taught me the real meaning of how a person should live and treat others. I don't think I'll ever truly believe that my daddy is gone, but I know I can live the life he wanted me to have, and everything he has taught me have been stepping stones to being able to overcome this horrible loss we have all encountered. My dad always told me when I was feeling low that this too shall pass, and I continue to hear him say this to me the last 2 weeks. He wouldn't want us to stop living. He would want us to charge on like he always said to do and not make excuses, to get the job done and keep moving forward. My dad was a Marine, my dad was a police officer, but my dad was different from the rest. He was special. I've never met someone like him. I'm hopeful I can live a life he would be proud of, and I will. I could go on forever about him, how much he meant to me and taught me, but I'll just carry the rest with me in my heart where he'll stay forever. He meant so much to so many people, and I am honored to be his daughter. Thank you everyone that is here today. My family appreciates every single one of you. I now plan to take care of my precious mom and my 2 sisters for the rest of my life. Dad, I'll forever have your back now. You rest in peace. I'll be seeing you and I love you. Semper Fi, double dog, hoorah.
My dad was amazing. He was my best friend and the man who taught me everything I know and made me the girl I am today. My dad always wanted the absolute best for my mom, my sisters, and me, and took it upon himself to give us the best life possible. My dad always told me when life got tough to charge on and stand on my own 2 feet because my last name is Capoot. When I would tell my dad I couldn't do it, he would ask me what my last name was, and I'd say Capoot and go finish whatever I thought I couldn't do. And that's how I'm going to live my life, as a Capoot, and as my dad would say, this too shall pass. I love you, Dad, and Cowboys to the Super Bowl.
This is for Jim.
Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Time can bring you down, time can bend your knees. Time can break your heart, have you begging please, begging please.
My name is Spencer Bottomley. I'm a Lance Corporal in the United States Marine Corps. I'm with 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, Bravo Company, 3rd Platoon. I'm the son of Detective Les Bottomley with the Vallejo Police Department. I first met Jim Capoot when, since all I can remember, as he and my dad were friends when they first started together almost 20 years ago. If you knew one thing about Jim, you would know by my uniform what him and I had in common. Jim was and always will be a Marine, but not just any Marine, an infantry Marine. That's always family, right there. It wasn't until I turned 17 I signed up for the Marines that I really got to know Jim. I think he may have been more excited about it than me. I also know he was very proud of me as well. Jim immediately volunteered to teach me how to shoot a rifle with the proficiency of a Marine. For those of you that don't know, Jim was a very experienced rifle instructor both in the Marines and for the Vallejo Police Department. I spent several days one-on-one with him, learning how the M16 was built, how to tear it down and build it back up, and dry firing it in their house over and over and over, and then some more. We did everything with the ferocity of a hellhound to his last days. I'll never forget him. Semper Fi Double L.
Never close, never far, always there when I need a friend. But it's hard living life on this merry-go-round. Always up, always down, spin around and round and round. But it's hard living life on this merry-go-round. Always up, always down, spin around and round and round. This could be such a dream, so it seems. And I was never much good at goodbye. Oh, this could be such a dream, so it seems. I was never much good at goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, Jim.
Have Officer Alan Kerrigan, Vallejo PD, come to the podium. He's going to speak the eulogy for Jim.
Good afternoon. I'm Officer Alan Kerrigan of the Vallejo Police Department. On behalf of his wife Jennifer, his daughters Jillian, Jamie, Justine, his mother Beverly, and the rest of the Capoot family, I thank you for joining us at this grand memorial to honor our fallen brother, Officer James Capoot, badge number 497 of the Vallejo Police Department and the United States Marine. He was better known to most of us as Jim. I have had the privilege to serve alongside some of the most amazing people on this planet. They are seated beside me and surround us both in and out of this stadium. Behold the sea of blue, and take notice of the stars shining on every chest. Observe how they have the uncanny ability to shine in the brightest days and even in the darkest hours. Today, badge number 497 outshines them all. Jim was my beat partner and beloved brother. We were kindred spirits, but that didn't really matter because Jim's personality made him everyone's best friend. Jim's family told me how much we act alike and wondered how either one of us got a word in, because we both like to talk. I told them as kindred spirits, we knew when to fill in the blanks, and that was usually between the laughter. All week long, I woke up in the middle of the night with thoughts of Jim. I put it all on paper, in emails, and shortly after, Jennifer and the girls asked me to do the eulogy. I had already written down my thoughts of Jim, but then I struggled at how I was going to honor such a great man. I was tasked to fit the amazing life of a 45-year-old into a eulogy that will last a few minutes. How can I accurately describe such a great man with words when his greatness was all about action? I figured out that I would start with his name, James Lowell Capoot. Who called him James? I don't know anybody did. And how about Lowell? Okay, that was his dad's name. But I'm sure whenever he got in trouble with his family, they yelled, James Lowell Capoot. But besides his family, I think Officer Gordy Moore is the only person in this stadium that I know that called him James Lowell. Everyone in this stadium had their own name for him. Jimmy, Jim, Jimbo, son, brother, Marine, Devil Dog, Babe, Daddy, Coach, Officer, Cowboy, and Partner. So I'm going to explain Jim, Jimmy, Jimbo's son and brother. I met Jim's mother this week. She arrived from Arkansas, and her name is Beverly. She too has several names like Jim. The family called her Mom, Mama, Grandma Rocky, and Dee Dee. It must be an Arkansas thing. The family warned me that she had a slow draw and can make a single syllable word into two. I love hearing her tell a story. I asked her if Jimmy ever got any lickings or whoopings when he was younger, and she told me he never did. She told me that he was a good boy, but he couldn't sit still. Imagine that. She added that one 4th of July, her Jimmy was 13. He baked a cake of the American flag, walked around the neighborhood, and invited everyone over. He told them to bring their favorite dish. He was already setting up the gatherings at his house. His older sister, Dana, told me that Jimmy was a spoiled brat. She explained that when he was 15, he had a waterbed. Really? 15-year-old with a waterbed. And it was 1979. Boom, chicka, wow, wow. You do realize that that was actually the type of music playing in the background in that era. Dana told me how one day he attached the hose to the waterbed to fill it. As we all know, Jimmy was always looking for something else fun to do. So while it was filling, he walked away and forgot the water was on. Yep, the waterbed actually filled up like a giant water balloon. Dana chuckled as she recalled it was so full of water it was only inches from the ceiling. The weight broke the frame of the bed, and as it splintered, the bag popped, flooding the house. Luckily, the family had flood insurance. Marine and Devil Dog. Now just imagine Jim as a child. He used to watch his father put on his Marine Corps uniform every morning over his highly polished boots. Watching his father planted the seed inside Jim, and the spirit of the Marine was born. He knew that he wanted to be a Marine too, but a heart condition stood in his way. The same heart condition never stopped Jimmy from running track during high school, because he even ran triathlons. His dad, though, was an example of a Marine that knew how to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So they met a family friend that happened to be a doctor and got their Jimmy cleared for duty. Jim left Arkansas, became a Devil Dog, and they called him Marine. He loved his Marine Corps. He let everybody know about it too. Everyone else was only half a man if they did not serve their country. Any other man that served in any other branch was gonna hear about how much their branch sucked and how much better the Corps was. He was constantly yelling, "Hoorah!" and Semper Fi everywhere he went. Last week, he found his beloved cadences on YouTube, and as I pulled up on him in our squad cars, he was on his iPhone and singing along, yelling, "Lefty, righty, left, lefty, righty, low." He turned to me and yelled, "Hoorah! Hear that, Alan? That's how they brainwashed me and made me a Marine." He actually made me regret not joining the Corps. He gave me an exemption only because my police academy was actually held at his beloved Marine Corps barracks on Mare Island. I fell into rank on his parade ground, ran his obstacle course, studied in his classrooms, and shot at his range, where he was also an instructor. He told me that I didn't suck as much as everyone else, and that was supposed to make me feel good. It was at those barracks that he met T.J. O'Connor, Steve Darden, Greg Campbell, Trace Richardson, and other young devil dogs. Together with all other devil dogs, they ruled the world. Jim was the very last Marine to stand post at the front gate of Mare Island after 141 years of history as a U.S. naval base. He was the example of dedication, unwavering commitment, sacrifice, honor, and integrity. It was on this beautiful island across the shores of Vallejo that the warrior met his beloved princess, Jennifer DiCarlo. She was tan, like all the princesses of this strange new land. One night she walked into a party with a squid. That's what a Marine calls a sailor, and immediately caught Jim's eye. Jim liked her a lot, as you heard from TJ. He knew that she was a great catch, and he had to save her from the evil squid. So he valiantly fought the squid and won. He saved the princess, and he became her knight in shining armor. But we all know that Jim was actually the lucky one, because she kissed the frog and turned him into a prince. Thank you, Jennifer. The other names are Babe, Daddy, and Coach. So the frog became a prince and made the princess his queen. He became part of her kingdom, and he made it his own. He loved her family and her friends. Jim told me that Jennifer was always throwing herself at him, especially when he had headaches and on nights he just wanted to cuddle and talk. As a result of their love for one another, Jennifer's belly got bigger and bigger on 3 different occasions. First, they had Princess Jillian, aka Jilly Mac. Then Princess Jamie, aka James, came along. Then on the 3rd time, he was eagerly waiting for Prince James Lowell Jr. when BAM! Princess Justine, aka Justy Dusty, was born. Justine told me, "Daddy was so mad, he told me that he needed 24 hours to himself after I was born." As his princesses got bigger, he got them into track and taught them how to run really fast from friends that happened to be boys. The rest of us would call them boyfriends, but his daughters are beautiful, and he was in denial. He worked side by side with his girls to build both of the hot rods that they proudly drove in today. He built them to help them get away from boys even faster. Earlier this year, Justine asked her daddy for a 4x4 truck, so in true esprit de corps, Jim improvised and got a 4x4 sticker made. He painted the rims black on the truck that they already own, adapted the 4x4 sticker to the truck, and then overcame a new car payment. As the girls grew up, they met other little girls that didn't have the kind of father that Jim was. He became their coach, their surrogate father, their chauffeur, provider of shelter and food. He also embraced them and brought them into his castle and welcomed them into his kingdom. He taught these little ones to find victory in some of his courts. For some of the girls, it was the first victory of life that they have ever achieved because they came from homes and neighborhoods that did not have the security and the stability that Jim gave for his daughters. Jim did anything he could to be with his girls. Even though he loved police work and worked countless numbers of overtime, he would not hesitate to give it away if his girls had an event. He loved running with them, watching their basketball games, and taking them on ride-alongs. And it didn't matter if he was at work or at home, he was always with them, thanks to his brand new iPhone. He loved Jennifer with all his heart. I could see the grin on his face whenever she called him on his iPhone. He was like Chubby on the Little Rascals. He would suddenly get all sweet and nice, and it would gross me out. Jennifer was his joy, and she really made him feel like a king. I saw him broken once, not for himself, but for his beloved Jennifer, who lost a childhood friend. He worried about her so much and couldn't find the answers, so he got to the point that he was even seeking God to help him help his wife. Even though he had such a huge personality and lots of swag, he was very humble in many ways. While many of our coworkers were finding cars equivalent to fine racehorses, he was fine clunking into work on his donkeys, the little red Nissan, and his brand new 1987 BMW. He had a humble home which he added onto, and it was his castle. He shared it with everyone. He grew up on the water in Arkansas, so he loved the lake and loved camping. He preferred his trailer at Camp Coloma over any five-star hotels. Cruise lines had nothing over his patio boat, the USS Tipolina. On Monday mornings, he would come back to rework, refreshed after a weekend cruise with his girls. He was a great storyteller, and his funniest stories always included Coors Light. He couldn't say Coors. Officer, cowboy partner, Mr. Sexy, and White Lightning. When Jim was still a child, he saw his father's uniform change. His shoes were still polished the same. It looked like a Marine's uniform, except it had a big shiny thing over the heart. It was bigger than any medal he had ever seen before. It was a Little Rock, Arkansas PD uniform, and Jim knew that he wanted to be a policeman, just like his father. He joined the California Highway Patrol, and at their academy he did everything that the Marines did, except they taught him how to drive really fast. Jim did that for 2 years, but he realized he wanted to do more. Jim became a Vallejo police officer because he lived in Vallejo with his family. This is where he met his new band of brothers. They had strange names like Lumpy, Cooter, Captain Chaos, Radar, Splash, Barney Rubble, Chocolate Thunder, Boat, the Creeper, Powder Shrek, the Hurricane, and there was even a brute of a man named Tiffany. We called him White Lightning because at his age he could still run a suspect down. Just like lightning, he was powerful, brilliant, and energized anyone around him. His brilliant life could also be missed with a blink of an eye in comparison to the eternal life he now lives. Anyone that ever worked with him knew, all these guys here knew, when Jim was at the station, because as you walked up, Southern Fried Rock will be blaring from the gym before his shift. You could hear him singing in the shower, what sounded more like a wolf howling, but at least he knew the words. Then the shower door would open and out comes Mr. Sexy doing a sexy dance. Ew. I thank you, God, for creating the person who invented towels. With no thanks to Jennifer, Jim believed he was the sexiest man alive. He'd sing his way into his uniform and be one of the first officers in lineup. There, he'd greet our teammates as they came in. And just as your butt hits the chair, he would remind you of how much your team sucked. And it was all about Dallas or the A's. He tried to divide our warrior nation by gathering his own tribe of cowboy fans, and they caused riots in our lineups. Only a chosen few knew that he was secretly a 49er fan. Because of Jen and Louie, and Officer Jeff Rodriguez of the Daly City Police Department, who gave him access to the 49ers and got him on the security team for the players. Steve Young, the former quarterback of the 49ers, was being interviewed on KNBR radio on November 23rd, and he blew the secret. He paid a heartfelt tribute to our brother Jim.
Capoot, and Jim was the officer that was shot and killed last week in Vallejo, and I just wanted to quickly just let people know that the 49er family and just everybody just really just can't stand to hear about this. He was He was a high school basketball coach at Vallejo, father of 3, and United States Marine. And so they're back there in Baltimore, as you know, right now. And Jeff's going to put a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier in his behalf. And so next Wednesday, they're going to have a memorial service at Vallejo High School, and a memorial fund's been set up, and anyone who's interested would just contact the Vallejo Police Department. But, one of the family got a tragedy happened last week, and I just wanted to mention him and his family. We're really thinking of him tonight, especially at Thanksgiving, which is an even tougher time. And there's a lot of good people that serve and served us for the 49ers for many years, tirelessly and faithfully, and I just wanted to put my condolences out to the Capoot family for the tragedy that happened last week.
But now I'm rooting for the Cowboys just to see his girls smile. The good king. In Proverbs 28:1, it says, "The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion." As a warrior, Jim had the heart of a lion, tenacious, powerful, and calm. He trained warriors for war by day, and by night, he was teaching children how to play. I imagine Jim as a lion, calmly watching over his pride. No one could ever come into his kingdom to harm his queen, his princesses, or anyone in his care. But he also had the tender heart of a good king that served his people. He was loved and adored because he housed the fatherless, fed the hungry, cared for the poor, and would host feasts and banquets in his home and in his court to celebrate life. Like any other good king, Jim actually even had his own kingdom, and it was vast. It stretched from the Pacific Ocean in the west to Camp Coloma in the east, from the courts of Arco in the north to Lafayette in the south. Every king has his court, but Jim had several of them. He literally lived in a court, played on several courts, and went to court in Vallejo and Fairfield. Everyone in those courts loved him because he loved them. Marine Corps soldiers everywhere even paid tribute to their beloved Marine. His devil dogs gathered at the base at Fort Irwin near Palmdale, California to honor him in their dress blues. Another soldier from the Army observed them praise God that Jim was on higher ground. Other Marines at a remote base in a combat area on the other side of the world even called Vallejo PD on our 911 line to honor their fallen Marine and our fallen officer. They told us that they would fly their flag at half-staff over their base and send it to his family, only bolstering the mantra, once a Marine, always a Marine. Hundreds of warriors today came to honor their fallen brother, and they truly understand the meaning of John 15:13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. They know this because they are the thin blue line, the line that separates good from evil. They accept the risk of losing their life to make the world a better place. Give them thanks because that line is ever so thinner. At times, it seems like the thin blue line is more like a dotted line, especially in Vallejo. The 300 Spartans at Thermopylae were able to stand and hold their line for 3 days against 100,000 of their enemy. Vallejo PD is less than a third of that number, and for years, we've been barely holding on to what's left of the line. Those that remain, we fight on with unwavering commitment to duty. I give special thanks to our spouses, our children, other family friends, and our brothers in blue who are seated with us. Their patches represent another agency, but their heart will forever belong to Jim and Vallejo PD. I give special thanks because your love for us does not waver or bend to the media slant, political correctness, or public opinion. Your love and loyalty gives us strength to continue with our mission to make a safer Vallejo. I want to give special thanks to our honor guard. Through all this, you show total strength and composure as you stood watch over him every minute of every day. The members of the Vallejo Honor Guard and any member of the Honor Guard are a special breed because they stand as the face of strength and composure when we're all at our weakest. Once Vallejo, forever Vallejo. I would also like to thank our brethren of Vallejo Fire, Medic Ambulance, and Kaiser ER. While we were pressed into duty on the battlefield, you tended to our wounded warrior. No words could accurately describe my gratitude for what you do. You are the thin red line that separates life and death. You face the same challenges we face, even though your red line looks like a dotted line too. We will always be indebted for your unyielding support for us. Together, we are the front line in this battle for a better Vallejo, except we have an exclusive audience. Just you and just us. Only we get to see the bravery in action because everybody else is running in the opposite direction. Elmer Davis once said, "This will only be the land of the free so long as it is the home of the brave." I like to conclude with this. It's a lesson from the first chapter of Joshua in the Old Testament of the Bible. In the difficult early days, I shared this with the family. Moses was a great man in Jewish, Muslim, and Christian faith. He led God's people and Joshua into battle. They were always victorious. God told Joshua, his general, that Moses, the great warrior leader, is dead, and ordered Joshua to continue the mission by crossing the Jordan River into the land that he promised to give them. Just like Joshua and Moses' family, we are warriors, and with Jim's family, we are now going somewhere without Jim, our great warrior and leader. We have never been here before. Yet God promises us that he will bless us if we obey him and charge on to complete the mission. God also promises us that every step that we take is ground given to us by him. He orders us to take one step at a time and warns us not to waver by turning to the right or the left. We must charge forward. He tells us 3 times in 3 verses, verses 6, 7, and 9, to be strong and of good courage. Only because God knows that in order to get the blessings, we're going to be afraid because we've never been here before, and at times it will be difficult. Our healing process will be one step at a time, being thankful for every step we take. Jimbo, you are my brother. Me and your brothers here miss you, but we will charge on and complete your mission. We are comforted that you are on higher ground with the King of Kings, and that you have the ultimate vantage point where time is no longer a factor. From your view, I know that you can already see that this valley which we are in is not as deep or as long as we think it is. We will charge on and climb out of this valley, and one day we will 98 you and meet you on higher ground. Earlier this week, Jennifer's childhood friend, Kelly Roberts, pulled me aside at the Capoot house and told me that it almost seemed as if Jim planned all this. It was kind of eerie, and I agreed with her at first, but as I drove away, I remembered that he was a Marine and a Vallejo police officer. He was always ready. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Semper Fi. We will always be faithful to you and your family because we love you. Once Vallejo, forever Vallejo. Look at our brothers, Jim. They still stand behind you. VPD is about valor, pride, and duty. Now would you all please rise and join me for one last hoorah for my brother? To Officer Jim Capoot, badge number 497, and to higher ground. And together we say, hoorah!
You and me. I never thought there'd come a time that our story would end. It's hard to understand, but I guess I'll have to try. It's not easy to say goodbye. For all the joy we shared, all that time we had to spend. Now if I had one wish, I'd want forever back again. To look into your eyes and hold you when you cry. It's not easy to say goodbye. I can remember all those great times we had. There were so many memories, some good, some bad. Yes, and through it all, those memories will last forever. There's peace in where you are. Maybe all I need to know. And if I listen to my heart, I'll hear your laughter once more. And so I've got to say, I'm just glad you came my way. It's not easy to say goodbye.